Let's have a conversation about stories. There is power in your story, power that can positively impact another person in ways you may never know. At Inspired Woman, the stories people share help change lives every day. I'm Marcy Narum, and this is Inspired Woman Conversations.
After 3 years and representing artists from all over the world, the Capitol Gallery is a nonprofit organization that has set out to celebrate history, art, and culture and provide community programs. We have locations in downtown Bismarck, Fargo, and Medora. For more information on how to host your next event here, our artist representation, as well as being invited to our exclusive events, visit us online at thecapitolgallery.com, Facebook, and Instagram.
We're talking today about something that you may not have heard of, dysautonomia. I'm Marcy Narum. Welcome to Inspired Woman Conversations. My guests today are three women who know very well about dysautonomia, and this is an opportunity for them to share their stories. And I want to thank you for being here. So my guests from left to right, we have Laura Taylor and Ashten Anhorn and Jami Benz. Thank you so much, ladies, for being here today and being willing to talk about your experiences and sharing your stories. So,
yes.
Jami, can you start with
definitely
what you know about dysautonomia?
So dysautonomia is a very hard word for most people to say. It's a dysfunction of the autonomic nervous system. So if you break the word down, dysautonomia is talking about the autonomics not working right. What are the autonomics? Everything you don't think about, right, ladies?
Yes.
So it is pupils dilating at the wrong time. It is breathing, temperatures. Your body normally adjusts. A normal person's body will adjust to all different types of temperatures. Your autonomics do that automatically for you. Digestion, you don't think I have to digest my food, but this is all done within your body without you knowing it. Well, for people with dysautonomia, they have a glitch in that system, and that's what I call it. So there's going to be different symptoms for everybody. No one person is the same. It can be up to 60 different symptoms, and they all fall under the big umbrella term is dysautonomia, and then there's little branches underneath of it that can be different for everyone.
And how do you know so much about it?
Right. So our daughter was a huge athletic person her whole life, from kindergarten on, huge into basketball. We didn't think much about it until she got into more of the aggression with other girls on the team. And she went up for a layup one time in a basketball game and took a fall into a brick wall and had her first concussion. And then that was 6th grade year. 2 years later in 8th grade, she was back in the game. She had been playing all along, but we noticed little things. And 2 years later, she took a full body check on the court, just laid there. It was fine. She didn't hit her head. And sportsmen assessed that she was perfectly fine to go back in the game. And we asked she remain out. And 2 days later, she started blacking out. So her blackouts would last 20 minutes at a time. Completely laying there unconscious. She would faint, go down, lay unconscious 20 minutes. School would call me. I would take over and sit with her, hold her hand, asking, Savannah, when you're with me, squeeze my hand, let me know you're with me. Went doctor after doctor after doctor, straight to ER, because as a mom, your kid's not conscious. You're thinking, first thing I think of is it's her heart. She must have a heart condition because maybe her blood's not flowing right. Her heart rate would drop really low or spike really high and go into what's a tachycardia, where it's just going to town and beating quite fast. But no doctors had an answer. They said it's hormones. It's a growth spurt. Sure, it could be the concussion, which I knew from the concussion something triggered all of this. But, and it's syncope. Syncope is fainting. So after 50-some appointments, ER visits included, and no one can give us an answer, I self-referred to Mayo. And that's where we learned it's dysautonomia. It was triggered from the concussion.
Okay, so we know that one was triggered from concussion, and we'll come back and talk some more. But Ashten, what's your experience? And
Well, throughout elementary school and middle school, I had 4 to 5 concussions from like soccer and just like recess and like stuff like that. And then in May of 2011, I fainted for the first time. I'd been sick with strep. We don't know if that's a cause or not, but and then from there just came all the POTS symptoms and everything from. That's the only first time I ever passed out, but yeah, just symptoms from 2011 until 2018-ish.
So, and she mentioned POTS. POTS is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome.
okay,
So that is under the umbrella of dysautonomia.
gotcha.
So we can talk about that
Yeah.
later. But
I'm glad you mentioned that because I
yeah.
was wondering about that. Okay, and is it something that is it managed, or is there medication, or how
Well,
do
I
you?
got my diagnosis of POTS in 2017, and then from there, symptoms just kind of started getting worse. And then in 2018, I went to Midwest Functional Neurology, where I went through a week-long intensive treatment that changed my life for the best. And to this day, I'm doing really good.
And you go to the Bismarck State College? What are you studying?
I'm studying social work and addiction studies.
Okay, good. Thank you. Laura.
I have hyperadrenergic POTS. We'll just throw some more complicated
Yeah.
words. Hyperadrenergic means I have a hyper, it's like norepinephrine, so my flight or fight, it surges.
Okay.
And so with my type of POTS, when I stand up, my blood pressure rises and doesn't fall. And so off of POTS, there's even another branch, and that's the branch I have. I'm a stay-at-home mom to 3 girls, and my symptoms started after I had my middle daughter, my second. I started getting migraines. I've had headaches, but I've never had migraines, and so I started having migraines. And then I had my third daughter, and while I was pregnant with her, I had my first blackout where I was feeding my girls lunch and I just blacked out in the kitchen. And so I went to the doctors and they said, oh, your brain's just not getting enough oxygen. It's probably due to your pregnancy. And so after I had my daughter, like more symptoms. I saw the migraines and the headaches. And then I started having like heart palpitations and like I was short of breath for no reason, like just standing there. And they started increasing after I had the Epstein-Barr virus and everything. Like for 4 months, I was pretty much, and that wasn't bedridden, but I was couch-ridden and trying to raise 3 girls and to be a wife. And so as I went on, I ended up seeing, in 2018, I saw 16 doctors and specialists in Bismarck. And then I ended up at Mayo. And that's where I finally got my diagnosis to understand what I was dealing with. Like, I was told I was like a fainting goat. Like, I would get startled and maybe that's why you passed out. And then I was told I was slender, and that's probably why I could just feel my heart, because I was slender.
Oh.
And I was told I had anxiety, which, granted, there are aspects of anxiety that go along with having this.
Sure.
But so I was told that, and then the worst was when I was in the ER, they told me it was psychological.
And that happens a ton. So the main reason we wanted to have the conversation with you is to spread the awareness that our daughter has learned, was sitting me by a doctor telling her she has been told she has an eating disorder because, again, autonomics don't always digest food, so she'll get extreme intense side aches, okay? So they're like, I think she just has an eating disorder. And this was at Mayo saying that to us.
Okay.
So you trust, right? Well, then we were also told it's a conversion disorder. That means it's psychological, that maybe she's just working herself up. We've had numerous people say, does she like school? Does she like her teachers? She is a kid she had 0 anxiety before any of this started. The most calm kid. But you begin to feel like we've all talked, you begin to feel, and as her mom looking in, saying, no, this isn't my kid. I know she doesn't have an eating disorder. You don't know anything about dysautonomia, obviously. But all these labels are put at you, and you begin to feel crazy.
I felt like I was going nuts. I felt like I was going insane.
Right? Because you can't get a true, what is this exactly? And it was Mayo that gave us our diagnosis too. When you find the right doctor, a lot of doctors don't even know this at Mayo. So you have to find the right doctor, and then they kind of explain it, and we start doing our own research. So
That's what I find really interesting is that none of you have said, my doctor here in Bismarck, you've been elsewhere. Mayo and Midwest.
Well, I got diagnosed by a children's neurologist,
Okay.
and then I went to my
in Bismarck.
from Fargo, but he
From
comes to
Fargo.
Bismarck.
Okay.
And then my new primary doctor, Byron Baker, was the one who further got the tests and referrals and whatnot to.
It's something you have to do a lot of research on your own. Like when I was didn't know how to say dysautonomia. I was like, hyper-edger, what? So you had to just delve feet first into just figuring, what does all this mean? How does this relate to me? To try to make sense of it, because no offense to doctors, the doctors didn't know either. It was kind of like, I don't know.
And the big thing is that we voice to our doctors is, if you don't know, just say you don't know. Because as the patient sitting there hearing, you might have an eating disorder, you might just have anxiety, you start feeling literally like you're going crazy, because you're like, no one believes me. I know none of this is true, but something's happening in my body.
So how do you know that's what it is? I mean, is there a blood test, or how do they come up with?
I had the autonomic testing at Mayo, so there's a tilt table test.
Mm-hmm.
I had a thermal regulatory sweat test, where they put me in a sweat chamber. I have autonomic neuropathy, so 89% of my body doesn't sweat. And so for me, heat is a big trigger for me. And then I had a catecholamine test, where it's a blood test with sitting and standing. Mm-hmm. So they run a range of tests at Mayo. Mm-hmm. Those are the tests I had.
Mm-hmm. And doctors will do a poor man's tilt table test, where they'll lay you down on the table, sit you up, stand you up. That's kind of a normal thing to watch your blood pressure changing. Mm-hmm. But the tilt table does all that for you. It actually tilts you to certain,
and you're hooked up a blood pressure. I had a blood pressure cuff on my finger and then on my arm, and they make you breathe. So they're watching what your heart rate's doing, what your blood pressure is doing, all the while you're going on a ride. The sweat test was the worst.
Yeah.
That was horrible.
And so what's happening with Savannah now?
She is doing much better. So she was, our journey has been 2.5 years, and that first 20-minute blackouts, and last year the blackouts were 30 seconds to 5 minutes. However, that's just the unconscious part. And to be able to, you have to lay down to get the blood to your head if you want to avoid a faint. Okay, so she feels lightheaded. She gets to the floor, lays down, lets the blood get to her head, hopefully stays conscious, and then to be able to sit because you don't feel too lightheaded, and then to be able to stand and return to class or whatever you're doing. So this year, she's probably only had a total of 3 incidences. So we've gone from 20-minute blackouts to, she used to have 2 to 3 a day, and now we've had 3 all school year pretty much. So
how does that impact a teenager? And I mean, you were dealing with that too.
You can speak from the heart, girl.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, throughout high school it got really hard because I was in 8 class periods a day, just constantly going. And my junior and senior year I missed a lot of school. And my senior year I missed so much school, but I was still able to graduate early. So that really helped. So then I didn't have that semester where I was just so miserable pretty much.
It very much impacts anybody, I feel like, to the point that people think it's made up, or some people had thought, maybe does she need attention? Maybe, again, it goes back to being unaware that this is a truly medical condition that people deal with. And we've learned so much, and I wish we wouldn't have learned all this, but if we needed to take this journey, we're taking it with people who are enduring it. hoping to advocate to everybody.
Laura, with how many kids do you have?
I have 3 girls. They're 9, 7, and 4, and it definitely impacts my mothering.
Oh yeah.
I run exhausted a lot, and so when I go to like schedule things, I have to go like, what can I handle? How much can I take on? Because if I take on too much, I'll pay for it the next day. And so my girls are very understanding in the fact, that they see what's going on with me, that they're patient with me. But like triggers for me, I still have issues with blacking out. So like cleaning my bathrooms, like if I'm on the floor cleaning, I just painted on Saturday. I stood up too fast from cleaning the floor and I passed out. And it's like simple things like that, or tying my daughter's shoes. If I'm bent too long, I'll like start to panic because I'm like, I gotta stand up. Otherwise, I don't want to fall over in front of them while I'm trying to just tie a shoe. It's like simple things like that, or like laundry. Laundry's a big trigger for me, which is like, oh, you guys better come in, step and do the laundry.
Yeah.
It's more like the bending over and the folding. Like if my head is hanging below, then it's a big trigger. So it impacts every single day, but I've learned to manage, adjust, give myself grace.
Be patient with it and learn your triggers.
Right. It's much easier to say to be patient with somebody else, but to be patient with yourself is something you have to learn how to do, because like, come on, why can't you do this? Why can't other moms are doing it? Why can't you keep up with what they're doing? So I've had to learn to talk to myself like a friend would talk to me, like, you can do this. It's okay if you need to sit down, take some time. Like my husband's super supportive and understanding, and so
that's
that helps
kind of
out a
the
ton.
same with ours, where she's an athlete. What do you do as an athlete? You push through.
Yeah, you
You
just
just keep pushing through, and this condition you have to surrender. You just have to give it up. You feel the trigger, you feel a symptom coming, you got to give it up, and you got to listen to your body, otherwise worse comes with it. So
What about relationships? I mean, were your friends understanding? Were they aware of it and know what was?
I made sure to tell all my friends, because like if I were to be having like an episode out in public and they needed to call my mom or like get in contact with somebody, they always knew. And they were pretty supportive. Yeah.
My friends were awesome. I have really good friends, and they're the ones that like assured me, like, you're not losing your mind, Laura. Like, keep fighting for yourself. Don't give up. Because like when you're fighting for yourself, and it's really exhausting. You need somebody to help come along and fight with you. And so to have my friends and my family and my spouse be like, you can do this. Don't give up. Keep fighting. It was what kept me going. Otherwise, I would have for sure given up.
yeah, I think the same. I think those that don't know in maybe a school setting will judge. And that's the one thing I've learned through this whole journey is you cannot judge a book by its cover. You do not know. These women look perfectly healthy. You would never guess. And I look at my daughter and I'm like, you look perfectly healthy. You don't know the internal struggle that they have to deal with every day just to get through school or to get through the day to take care of 3 kids, and you're all alone, So it's a lot, and that's a big part of this. What we're doing with you today is just to really advocate that just don't judge another person. And teens, of course, any kids are apt to do that right away. They think, oh, what's wrong with her, right? That why does she have to step out of class, or why is her mom here all the time? Kind of thing. So
Did Savannah deal with some of that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think we're still dealing with some of it. There's different personalities, of course, that have been in her life and out of her life and back in her life now that it's been continuing. She's getting better, but they're like, okay, maybe she wasn't making it up. That obviously there's something more to this. And then you have those really close friends that know you and who you are, and you're a fighter, that you're not just going to do this to get attention. You're not that kind of person. So
aside from the 3 of you and your daughter Savannah, do you know others that are experiencing this?
so sad.
I've heard of one person, like, I know somebody who has a so-and-so that knows somebody that has this.
Okay.
Or like, there's one gal, oh, I know somebody on Instagram that has this. Because normally I lead with, I have something, you've probably never heard of it. It's called POTS. And then most people are like, oh, I've never heard of it. And so like when someone says, like when an ER physician, I'm like, I need fluids.
Yes.
I said, I'm sure you probably never heard of it. And like one time, like, I do. I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. You know what we're talking about. This is great. You feel like you won the jackpot when you talk to somebody. It's like, oh, yeah, I know I've heard of it. I know it.
So a big thing with dysautonomia and POTS, which is the postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Now try saying that to someone, right? That has never heard of it, so it's just POTS.
I'll let you.
But yeah, so you go into the ER, and we all know as a caregiver, and they know experiencing this, the biggest thing for you is you have to stay hydrated. But if your ferritin, which nobody checks, is bottomed out, you have no way for your oxygen to move your blood through your body, through your central nervous system. So not always does just water work. Electrolytes are better for you, but some people have a high salt diet to help attach the salt and move that oxygen through your central nervous system. For our daughter, the salt really hasn't been a game changer either way. Electrolytes are very helpful. She barely gets out of bed in the morning, and she has water or an electrolyte by her, and she does that first because even just sitting up after laying there 8 hours at night to sit up, she's like, that is the only thing that's going to actually get me out of bed, kind of thing.
And like water, like 80 to 90 ounces of water a day is like what I drink. If I shoot for every day, I mean, it's a lot of water. Like my friends all know, like Laura goes everywhere with her water bottle. Like it's just be my water.
Yes, yeah.
What are there other triggers like that you might need to avoid?
We'll let you start.
Well, not towards the end. I couldn't really like find a trigger.
Okay.
But, because like one time it even happened while I was driving in Bismarck. It happened, and I couldn't even figure out a trigger that caused that one. But
So sometimes
Heat
there
definitely-
isn't a
no.
trigger. Yeah.
But like when it's summertime, I get affected pretty bad with the heat, and kind of like really full, like stressful like areas like with a lot of people in them, because there's like you just kind of can't.
It's like the stimuli in your, because it's a neurological glitch is kind of what I call it. Okay. So if you have added stimuli or added stressors from stimuli, whether it's bright lighting, neon lighting, temperature changes,
Loud noises,
really loud noises, different things that your body just has to, it's like a shock at first, I feel like, where maybe we can adjust. Someone with POTS or dysautonomia can't right away. You got to kind of ease into those situations. So,
Well, we're starting a conversation about this, and hopefully people are listening and watching and maybe being educated about something that they haven't heard of either.
right.
What do you hope people will get from this? We'll take from our conversation about this.
My biggest thing is fight for your health. Be an advocate for yourself, but how we want to advocate the condition itself. Do not judge others by what you see, because you don't know what another person is enduring. And just have that compassion.
Yeah, I say if I were to have seen something like this when I was going through it, it would make me feel not so lonely. I was very lonely. Like, is there anybody else there that's going through what I'm going through? Because I feel very alone in my struggle. Granted, there's lots of struggles in life, but just to know, like, somebody else is dealing with this, it would have made it feel like, thank you. Like, I'm not alone, I'm not doing it by myself, and I'm not going crazy.
Yes.
And when your doctor can't tell you either,
Right.
when it's such a mystery, and that's kind of what it sounds like to me, is
Yeah.
that it's been a mystery in a way to try to solve.
There's like, what did I read? 13 doctors in the whole United States that are autonomic specialists. That's it. So they're wait lists. We got on a wait list for Toledo, Ohio, and it's been 2.5 years. So just so you know, like there is 1 million people with this. So it is it's the most common thing that nobody knows about, if you can say it that way, that people have it, but they don't know where to turn, and there's not enough expertise in the medical field to help us. So
Nor is there really like a medical, like a pill or like something you can just like, oh, okay, so here you have this, you can be given this. It's more a lot of like holistic approaches that I'm finding has been helpful for me versus like a prescription to get.
Is there, I was thinking about the like coding. Do they have a code for this, in their billing?
no,
their
I'm
insurance?
pretty sure not at all. I mean, people can't even say it, so I'm sure we don't have a code yet. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge.
But what about your local doctors? Are they learning some things and wanting to find out more?
It scares them because how me and Laura connected was through our primary doctor. And he's like, hey, I know someone who might have this. And then we get together for coffee. But doctors don't know enough about it. And like our doctor will say they don't have a colleague to lean on. The North Dakota Medical Board doesn't know. I'm reaching out to people outside of the state. Who can I contact? So when I walk into the doctor, they're all like, oh, geez, here comes Donna. Because I tell these women that I bring information from Dysautonomia International, and I am like, here you go. You need to read on this because you don't know when you're going to have somebody walk in. And you need to share with your colleagues because we need you doctors to learn about this for us.
Mm-hmm. You smiled, Ashten, when I
It's
asked
just
that.
frustrating because it was like 8 years of just trying to find an answer, and none of the doctors wanted to take the time to sit down and figure it out. And it's just frustrating.
To feel like that you were actually heard.
Yeah.
Oh, to be heard. Well, what else? Is there anything else that I've missed while we've been talking about this? What should somebody do? Should they call you, Jami? Do you want me to?
Actually, that is happening a lot, which
yeah?
I have a background in social work, and my heart bleeds for I would do anything to take it from all of them, but especially when you're a kid, you're like, oh, I would just take it from her if I could. So, see, there you go. Get a little emotional. But yeah, we have been the target family that people seem to draw towards us, which I absolutely love, because if our story and our journey helps one person, great.
That's what I keep saying. If I can at least share and it helps one person, like if they are in the doctor's office, my biggest thing is don't give up. Like if you know you're experiencing something, keep pushing, and you'll keep until you find the right doctor. It's very frustrating, but if you keep pushing and keep pushing, you'll hopefully end up at the right doctor that can finally help you.
And most people, you want to trust what your doctor tells you. And when they can't tell you anything, or they start saying it could be X, Y, Z, and you know it's not, then where do you go? Mm-hmm. You start going to, okay, I'm on Google, I'm researching, I'm now in support groups. I'm in support groups online, like Possibility for Parents, POTS, which Savannah has, Laura has, and I think you had, right? So you start learning from other parents. What worked for you? Where did you go? And then, oh, hey, go to Dysautonomia International. It can help you with things in school. It can help you with triggers to learn. It can help you with so much advocacy. So,
and finding like Dysautonomia International and the Dysautonomia Advocacy Foundation, it's like those have been some of my biggest, Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
But some of my biggest support that I've received.
And sometimes you don't want to read everything they say because it will scare you. Yes. And you're like, okay, I don't even want my daughter to know all of this is happening for some of them. Yeah. But every situation is 100% different. So that's on the medical world. I can see why it's so hard to diagnose. Mm-hmm. But just for any medical doctor, give that chance of saying you could potentially have this. I don't know how to help you. At least give that patient that is what we'd ask.
Thank you, ladies. This has been really an eye-opening conversation about something that I hope we can get a conversation started with other people, and certainly reach out, share your comments, your thoughts, ask questions. These ladies could be the resource for, at least for now, to help you get started and going in the right direction. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to the Capitol Gallery in downtown Bismarck. Next time you're in the area, stop in. And Be Wise Media, thanks to Ben Weisbeck for the production of our program. We'll see you next time.